Hello and welcome to the Hertfordshire Festival of Music. I'm James Francis Brown, the Artistic Director of the festival, and I'll be introducing you to some of the very special performers who are playing for us in June 2023. The Rossetti Ensemble, which formed to present the central repertoire of the 19th century piano quartet and take their name from the poet and painter Dante Gabriel Rossetti, will be performing at All Saints' Church, Hertford, on the evening of Tuesday the 13th of June. I spoke to their violinist, Sara Trickey, about how the ensemble came together and how the Rossettis are far from constrained by their original mission. Hello, Sara. Good to see you.
Hi, James.
Joining me on this little brief discussion prior to your appearance with the Rossetti Ensemble next Tuesday week, or today. It's very good to see you. And I've known all four of you as an ensemble independently for many years now. John Lenihan, the pianist, came in, actually was part of the inaugural concert of the festival back in 2016. Sarah Jane also has appeared at the festival. And I think I met you and Tim independently at the Prestige Festival. So I've known you all from very different sort of vantage points, but you're all quite sort of different ages as well, aren't you? Most ensembles are many ensembles form, at a particular time in life, don't they? How did you four, get together?
Well, I think we've actually got George Vass to thank for that, because he brought us together for a Prestige Festival, at least the three string players, so Tim, Sarah Jane and me. And that was already a long time ago, probably about 8 or 10 years ago. I'm not quite sure when. But that was very fortuitous and wonderful. And we've all been playing together a lot since then. And meanwhile, Sarah Jane and John are in a duo together. And so Sarah Jane was saying what a wonderful, person and pianist John was. And so we were very excited to join up with him. And that's been the formation for the last 5 years, I think. And it's wonderful. It's true that we are very different ages. Well, not very different, but somewhat different ages. But I think, there's a lot of benefit to that sometimes. It's really nice to we bring different experiences and different bits of wisdom and different perspective on life. And I think that's actually a very healthy thing in a group.
And would you say you share a feeling for what is at the core of your repertoire as well, as the Rossetti Ensemble?
I hope so. Yes.
Like that. Is it centered on the romantic music of the Romantic era, the late 19th century, but with things that go out from it? How would you generally describe?
Yes, I think so. I mean, if you're a piano quartet, you probably have to be largely centered on the Romantic era, because obviously that was the sort of heyday of that music. And we've got the Mozarts, which are absolutely wonderful, and one of which we'll be playing next Tuesday, the G minor, which I'm particularly inspired by, actually. I just think it's such a remarkable piece. It's so easy with Mozart to kind of feel like it's a concert opener or a sort of icebreaker.
Yes, often treated that way.
Yes, it seems to be, it's a shame, actually, because, I mean, it does have this lightness of touch and charm. But at the same time, especially in the first movement of this particular piece, there's a real intensity and a real darkness to it. And a lot of it's almost like a condensed opera for chamber music, I always think.
Dramatic, yeah. And recently I heard you playing the E minor violin sonata, which is a relatively early work. And again, it's only 2 movements, but it's absolutely charged with a strange and slightly feverish but beautiful energy, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The minor is a similar, piano quartet's a similar thing.
Absolutely. Can't underestimate these so-called smaller scale works by Mozart. I mean, they have everything that the operas and symphonies have, but just in a sort of condensed form, I think sometimes more intimate and more personal, actually.
Yeah. And you're playing also 2 contemporary works.
Yes.
That must admit is by me, and the other by David Matthews, who was our featured living composer last year. You obviously play a lot of contemporary music. Does that feel a very strange thing aside your core repertoire, or do you find that there are some works that that seem to blend in quite well with that repertoire, or at least feel as if they're not sticking out like a sore thumb, or as the expression is. I don't know. I'm inviting you now to give your feelings and descriptions about these two pieces, and it's all right. You can say whatever you like to me, Sarah.
That's fine. Yes. I feel like we're more likely to choose contemporary works that are sort of rooted in a tradition, the tradition of classical music. So I feel like with some modern pieces, they really feel completely divorced from that. I mean, maybe for the composer themselves, it doesn't feel like that, but contemporary music, of course, can be quite difficult for people to listen to. Not always, but it can be. And I think it's much easier to get a grip on it and a grasp of it as a performer too, when you feel like it's grown out of the tradition that we're all so familiar with. Yes. And I think that with both David's works and with yours, I feel that sense really strongly. I mean, I know that David connects a lot with Beethoven and with Sibelius.
Me too.
And I hear with your piece, not David's piece that we're playing this time, but also with some of David's other music, and very much your piano quartet, I hear quite a lot of Ravel. I don't know if you relate to that, but that's something that I really feel coming through, shining through.
That's very nicely put. I think oddly the Fauré C minor piano quartet was quite a big influence on me. I loved that piece when I first heard it. It's this continuous surge of unfolding melody that never seems to sit down. And although my quartet sits down in one or two places quite deliberately for a change of pace and so on, I really wanted that sense of continuous unfolding. But it's very good for us as composers to have ensembles who are willing to take on these pieces and embed them in the repertoire, because it gives us a sense of purpose, to feel that that the insights that you've gained as musicians in performing other pieces are coming towards this new piece and bringing all sorts of extra colours. And I would say also, I'm sure David would agree, it's lovely whenever we rehearse to hear musicians like you take on board these ideas, but also bring your own ideas to how the music might feel. Do you enjoy that whole process of?
It's a wonderful process. I mean, it's such a privilege to actually be able to work with a composer. I mean, we spend so much of our lives thinking, oh, I wonder what Beethoven meant by this dot. And, oh, if only we could ask Schumann what he means by this particular accent, or Sforzando. I mean, we spend so much time kind of speculating about the past. And so it's just a real privilege to actually have a composer in the room. And we can say, what exactly do you mean by this? Or how does this, resonate for you? And the other day when we did that with David, actually, it was hilarious because he hadn't heard his piece for a while. And he said, oh, I can't remember at all. I can't, this is all feels very fresh to me. So that was quite amusing, actually. But with your piece, obviously we've worked a little bit with you, haven't we, on it? And I've certainly talked to you a lot about it. And I feel like we've lived with it a bit, because your piece is quite a serious piece. I mean, it's quite dense, and there's a lot of information in it, and it needs, it needs to be handled carefully, I think, actually. And it's wonderful and very rewarding. The more that we dig into it, the deeper that we dig, the more rewarding it is. But it's not a piece that we can just throw together. It's not that kind of piece.
No. Well, I'm blushing now. Thank you, Sarah. It's very nice of you to say, and much appreciated. And thinking again about that sense of working with composers, that's something that a festival, I think, can create. This sense of gathering together of kindred spirits. You enjoy playing. I know you do it at festivals and meeting all sorts of other musicians. Have you ever been to Hertford before?
I'm not sure that I have been to Hertford. I'm very much looking forward to going. I've been to Hertfordshire, obviously, but not yet.
Yes. It's a lovely town, a very lively atmosphere, lots of interesting old buildings and tea rooms and coffee houses and pubs and so on. So I think there will be plenty of opportunity for people to come and enjoy your concert. And maybe...
Yes, I have a sneaking suspicion that we won't have so much time for the tea cakes and the...
No, but Maybe the pub afterwards for a little bit.
Maybe the pub afterwards. Yeah, sounds good.
Well, Sarah, thanks ever so much. We're really looking forward to your visit to the whole of the Rossetti Ensemble, and thanks for sharing your thoughts today, Sarah. Good to see
We're
you.
really looking forward to coming. See you soon.